Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. Today, I am your host, Matt, and I'm joined by my friends Alex and Jem. Before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem for some exclusive content, or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address, wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. So today we're going to have a look at some gaming news from the recent past. Ooh, very exciting. So the way it's going to work, we've all brought one story each, and we're going to go through them one at a time, and we're going to see what happens. So we are going to start today with Jem. What have you got for us?
So actually, that's a really inappropriate start because this is actually a really serious story, I'm afraid. So last week, I received an email from my daughter's school with a alert from the National Crime Agency about sextortion. Where children are being encouraged to send inappropriate photos of themselves, and then those photos are being used as ways to get money out of them and blackmail them. And so this is a problem between children. And older children and younger children, but also within the peer groups. But it's also increasingly problematic on a international scale, and it's become a serious crime problem with organised gangs who are setting out and basically entrapping mostly young boys into these scenarios and putting them quite seriously at risk. And there's been a number of suicides off the back of this due to intense feelings of fear and shame and embarrassment and all of the things that you can imagine go along with this. So this is obviously a really, really serious situation. There was a big thing about it on the news last week, and as I said, all the schools were asked to send out emails to the parents. And what's it got to do with gaming the system is that a lot of these people are being contacted in online gaming settings. So especially games like Roblox, where younger kids play, but there's no age restrictions, so there can be any ages in there. So plenty of adults also play on Roblox, and Roblox is extremely popular, and I'm not demonizing it at all, because I think that's the biggest problem that happens with these stories, is that we have we demonize the platform and not the people that are using, abusing the platform and abusing the children. So I think it's really important to recognise there's a distinction there. But one of the biggest issues with these games is that kids are playing in this environment. Nobody's talking to them about how to keep themselves safe online, what they should and shouldn't be talking about, what they should and shouldn't be doing, what sort of information they should and shouldn't be sharing. Now, you can't share photos via Roblox. So what happens is that these people groom kids on Roblox and then move them to other platforms to encourage them to share photographs and more private conversations that can't necessarily be spotted, because Roblox, I would like to say to their credit, but having had a conversation with them about it, due to the fact that it's appalling, have a really bonkers chat protection system, which basically is designed to sort of monitor and remove certain words and certain things to try and control the conversation, but ends up basically hashing out everything, all sorts of words, and to the point that a lot of the conversations can't be held on Roblox. So a lot of people are encouraged to move off Roblox simply because they can't have a sensible conversation within it. So it's almost like the moderation that's being put there to protect these kids is actually contributing to some of this, the situation of them being encouraged to move to other platforms. And then obviously those other platforms are things like Instagram, WhatsApp. There was one place called, I want to call it, I can't remember what it was called, but it's like a Canadian chat software that they then move on to there, and those are all designed to be protected and like WhatsApp, so you can't access the messages, you can't get history. As a parent, you don't know what's going on. So what's the solution to this? I think the solution to this is to educate parents more about what their kids are doing, about gaming, about online gaming. And I think that it's, the advice, the official advice, which I very much agree with, is about talking to your kids about, these things might happen. Occasionally we do stuff that we shouldn't do. We make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. Talk to a trusted adult. Those are the things that we need the messages that we need to get across, because what happens is these kids are talking to these people, they get themselves into a situation that they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this, and then they don't know who to talk to about it, and that's where the power comes in for these people. But yeah, I mean, I'm a mum, so I have direct experience of Roblox. I have direct experience of some of the crappy people that there are on Roblox, and luckily, as far as I am aware, my daughter hasn't come across anyone who's sort of trying to do this, or if she has, she's given them short shrift. But we also have made a serious effort to constantly talk to her about it and to keep her talking to us about it. And I'm sure she's not telling us everything because she's a teenager, but we've done our best to make sure those lines of communication are open, but that's because we're online gamers, we're online people. We know how these things work, and we know how they can go wrong. But what do you guys think about this, like, as not parents?
Yeah, well,
yet.
I hadn't heard of Roblox until like last year, when my hairdresser mentioned it as something that her kids play when I said I was into gaming. So it's definitely something that's popular with children. And I think she was playing with them on Roblox as well, which was good to hear. But yeah, it's in terms of like what can be done as a solution, I would agree with you, Gemma. It's definitely about communicating, if you're a parent, with your child about like how to stay safe online. And it's not easy, and it's not going to be foolproof. Obviously, it's really hard. And I know, as someone who has moderated an online space, how hard that is to do, because like it's so nuanced and so like there's so many like interpretations of ways. I mean, obviously when stuff is definitely not okay, but it's like there's so many grey areas as well, and it's like you're going to get flack for doing something, you're going to get flack for not doing something. So policing those spaces is like pretty impossible to do. Then there's the whole thing of like, well, how much privacy does everyone need when they're in online spaces? That's a whole nother kettle of fish, because when I was moderating, we could moderate obviously the main threads on what was a community forum, but we couldn't see any private messages, and we knew there was stuff happening in private messages that would have been like bannable things. So we had to approach people very carefully with our own private messages and say, if there's anything going on that you wanted to report, please let us know. But we can only do so much. So it's incredibly difficult, an incredibly huge problem for spaces like online gaming, where messaging is involved. And I think the online safety bill we've talked about a couple of times on the pod has come in relatively recently, but whether it has powers to do anything that is remotely successful in protecting people and children online, I don't know yet, because again, it's like, yes, okay, you can put these things in place, but how much more is there to the process of making sure these spaces are safe? It's a hard one. It's a hard one.
You're completely right about it. This is the system. This is the system's responsibility. The system is meant to exist to protect people to the best of its ability from this kind of behaviour. But the problem is, the way children are raised in this country and in most countries is, as long as they don't die and they go to school until they're 16, they're ready for society. They don't need anything other than to be kept alive at home and just be at school, and then that's it. And if you can prove how little that they don't care about children as long as they just survive, the fact that children go hungry at school, that free lunches, that free food for everyone isn't available, instantly shows you they don't care enough to try anything with this, and especially if it means regulating corporations. And so what this is, there are always going to be predators. There are always going to be people who are trying to do bad things. And they're always going to be finding ways to do it. The best you can do is mitigate them as much as possible. And in order to do that, you need to have a government which has worked out the most effective interventions for it. You need parents who have good relationships with their children, and even if they have the best relationships, that's not a guarantee. So you need to have the parents working on it. You need to have schools working on it, governments working on it. But we don't have the government working on it. We don't have schools working on it. Parents can do the best that they can, but plenty of parents don't have a good relationships with their children, or the kind of relationships. There are too many relationships that are vulnerable to this purely by both parents having to work full time. If you've got two parents having to work full time, it's impossible to raise a child as well as possible. It just isn't, because you need that time with them. And pretty much, in order to have the most effective barrier against this, is for the entire system to change, unfortunately. And parents are really have the short end of the stick in terms of it.
I would say that I would challenge that you can't raise a child properly if both parents are working. I think you can't I think in our current systems it doesn't work, but I think if you have a proper childcare system in place, then, you know, I don't think that only the parents can provide this. As you've said, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, and that is true. And, you know, people that look after kids in childcare or whatever, they can also provide these environments, but only if they have the time and the education and the proper funding in order to be able to do that. And at the moment, as you say, Matt, we treat kids as afterthoughts in our society. We do not give them respect. We do not respect the people that look after them, and we don't recognise that if we don't look after them properly when they're little people, they'll grow up into arseholes. You know, they're just gonna, you know, they're gonna be problematic for us down the line. And it's just crazy, the short-sightedness of our societies. It's in the West. I think is just bonkers, really, when it comes to looking after kids. And I think that it's interesting because it's when you talk about what can we do, the legal side is fraught because you've got these issues around freedom of speech and freedom of activity. And I think, you know, Alex, you touched on the issue of freedom of right to privacy, of having a right to having a private life, and children have some rights to private lives as well. And so I think it is a really complicated thing. But we're not even talking about it at the moment. I mean, Roblox, all that happens is we have these moral panics where everyone, gets up in arms and freaks out about it, but no one actually does anything about it. And we know that, well, I mean, let's be honest about it. We know that it's male violence for the most part, and it's men attacking young men and young girls, and it's happening on such a wide scale that we know that people know people who are doing this. Now, no one wants to deal with that, but these are the things, and I think a lot of what we talk about here is linked to that.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're not even gotten started. I hate those things where you're like, oh god, this is a serious problem. We haven't even gotten started with fixing it. Alex, I'm going to give you the unfortunate job of following such a heavy topic.
Right. It's going to be a dramatic shift change in subject for this next story. So this came out a couple of days ago at the time of recording, and it's a story about an upcoming game called Marvel Rivals. The developers of which have apologised after banning negative reviews, which is interesting. So the developers have apologised, and they told content creators essentially that they couldn't give it any negative reviews. They were playtesting basically a version of the game, and these content creators were asked to sign a, quote, non-disparagement clause contract with the developers. So it said that gamers agreed not to make any public statements that could be detrimental to the game's reputation, such as a negative review, belittling gameplay, or making disparaging or satirical comments. Following the backlash, Marvel Rivals said it was sorry for the confusion, suspicion, and frustration caused by these excessively restrictive terms. We would like to apologise for any unpleasant experiences or doubts caused by the miscommunication of these terms, and we actively encourage creators to share their honest thoughts, suggestions, and criticisms as they play. And apparently it is working with people who voiced concerns about the clause to revise the contract and change its terms to be less restrictive and more creator friendly. And this comes from developers, Chinese developers, NetEase, so that's NETEASE, in collaboration with Marvel Games. So what are your thoughts on that story?
So I one of the stories that I'm not doing today because it was too shitty and irritating is another Saudi Arabia story. And non-disparagement agreement is literally what they put in the tennis contracts. The contracts that they give to athletes to say, don't talk shit about us, don't talk about our crown prince fucking dismembering a journalist, don't talk about the way we treat women, just to, everything's great. And people taking the money with that. And the reason I don't want to do it is because that's shitty. And also I am sick to my fucking guts of being gaslit by corporate bullshit. I'm sick of reading, we're sorry, we regret there was confusion about the wording of some of our stuff.
Of course,
we didn't want people to not disparage, sign an agreement to not disparage our game so that it would look like only good things are being said about it. That's not what we meant, that thing that we wrote in a fucking legal document.
I know, it's like, it's not confusing, is it?
Ridiculous.
I mean, it was blatantly there in black and white.
It's ridiculous.
I'm sick. I see it seen over and over and over again, especially with all this. Every time the game industry goes, we're doing something that people aren't liking for purely personal profit points. For example, laying people off for artificial intelligence, and they've all all of them are doing it, and they started going things like, we're creatively giving our platform the chance to creatively evolve away from people making a game and then releasing it onto a more like friendly and exciting live service model. And I'm just I'm sick to death of it. God damn it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's but I just don't. Yeah, I think it's crazy that they did it in the first place, because the whole point about a review is that you want it to be a genuine review, and if you can't rely on reviews, then I mean it's like, for example, I don't go to Amazon for review. Well, I don't go to Amazon if I can help it, but I don't go to their review section for anything. You know, I'm really picky about where I go to and who I go to for reviews, because I want it to be genuine. If I'm looking at something to know whether or not I'm going to like it, I want to get a genuine evaluation of it. And I think, you know, I downloaded a book from Audible the other day, and I listened to the first half hour of it, and oh my God, it was awful. It was such a bad story. It was so sexist, so just rubbish. I mean, this guy, I'm not going to say who it was, but this guy has written 4 books. This first one was like a prequel, and actually I don't think it was even his first one. He's written like 4 or 5 books about this character, and this was horrendous. And I actually returned it, and I've never returned anything on Audible. Didn't even know you could. But I returned it. But the reviews had all said, "Oh, this is brilliantly written. It's brilliantly this and it's brilliant that." It was not. Now that's very much a personal. You know, it's personal taste, and I accept that maybe I'm just a grumpy old feminist, but I don't want to buy games that I'm not going to enjoy, because then I'm not going to buy more games from that company. It's not even in their interest, is it, to have sort of fake good reviews? It isn't, you know, not a genre that's that popular and that well known.
No, it's a free-to-play shooting game for PC, apparently, where you control comic book heroes like Spider-Man and Scarlet Witch. So it's very, very much the same as a lot of similar games, and apparently is in an early version of the game, and it's currently being tested. So it's not even like near the end of its thing. So all I can think is that they probably were like, oh, let's just write this contract, get an AI to write it or something. Because, half the things these days are written by AI. I'm probably giving them too much benefit of the doubt now. But if it's written by AI, then, like, surely people who are well-versed in reviewing games are going to know if it's at the early stage, then it's not finished yet.
No.
You know, they're not going to be like, oh, this game is shit, don't buy it. It's not the finished article. So they know that. I think it was really about power and control, and they're obviously like seeking to control the narrative of like what people think of the game and stuff. And I just think it's really, again, like you've said, a really ridiculous thing to do. And then the amount of backpedaling that they've done is also like laughable, because it's like pretty obvious what they were intending from that clause. But yeah, not a good look, is it really? It's not good publicity. No, they say that. I think
better of Marvel.
Yeah, I know they say that any publicity is good publicity, but that's clearly not what people want, is it?
No.
But yeah, I just thought I'd be keen to share it with you guys because it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah,
I just the they try and make things their sound. Oh, we're having really intense creative discussions about everything, all these things, all up and down the line, and we're having these very intense discussions about creative evolution and moving into the next generation and all these exciting things. When it always comes down to, we want to cut costs and maximize profits.
Yeah.
That's literally it. We just want more money. We make more money when we spend less money and people give us more money. And that's literally all it comes down to. And it's even more galling the bigger the corporation is. There is no It's just like with Harry Potter. You can put out a limp fish shitting on my dreams, 20 years of Harry Potter dreams, and it sells 24 million copies. But just the more you go, so why would you want a non-disparagement thing in your game? Oh, because bad reviews might mean less people will buy it. Okay, that's it. That's how things work. And so it's easy to go, why did you put this in your here?
Yeah.
Oh, because we don't want any bad reviews. I'm sad.
What is your last story, Matt? Can you bring us up, cheer us up, or is it still a sad news story? Don't know.
We'll see. We'll see what I can make of it. We're going to go back to video game adaptions. Back to The Witcher. The Witcher has had 3 seasons, and it's having a 4th, and then it's going to close out with a 5th. And biggest news is that Henry Cavill has been replaced by Liam Hemsworth. So we'll go through this bit by bit. So we'll start off with Liam Hemsworth. I haven't found a film with him in yet that there's maybe go, oh yeah, he's good. Like with Leonardo DiCaprio, I never really got him, and then I watched him in Blood Diamond, and that went, oh shit, he's good. So I'm hedging myself for going, okay, I'll give it a chance. We'll see, because no one can be Henry Cavill, so we'll just see what happens. What has Liam Hemsworth's impact to both of you?
Wasn't he in? Was he not? He's not. No, I'm thinking of his brother, aren't I? Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, that's literally like the extent of where my brain has gone. Yeah. So that's probably my answer. Yeah.
I really like Henry Cavill. I think he's amazing as The Witcher, and for me, he is The Witcher. And it feels like it was a really uncomfortable situation that led to him leaving, and from what I've read and all the gossip and stuff, so it just feels like it doesn't feel right that he's left anyway. And he was really passionate about the books, so I think he was there sort of standing up for the books, although I've also heard that that's not all good, and the books aren't all shiny either. So I think it's a shame for somebody to have to step into a role under this sort of cloud. I think that's going to be a real shame. But I don't know. I mean, I have to say, we got about halfway through the last season 3, and kind of lost interest, because to be fair, it just was all over the place. I don't know what they were really doing. There was massive plot holes. There was it wasn't great, and it may just be that there was conflict then, and maybe we were always going to end up with this. But if it carries on like that with Liam, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to have Henry Cavill carrying it. Yeah.
I'd heard kind of mixed things about Henry Cavill's leaving and the reasons why, possibly laying at Henry Cavill's door. So there's like loads of mixed things about it. Like that he wasn't all that great to work with in terms of just as a person. But again, complete rumourville, have no idea if it's based in reality at all. And I don't actually remember if I've watched season 3, which again probably tells you that I probably haven't yet watched it. But from what you've said, Jem, we'll definitely watch it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, that's sad to hear. I think that tends to happen though with a lot of adaptions. The further they go through series, people just sort of run out of ideas, and then it kind of loses its way a little. That definitely happened. Did any of you watch Heroes? A couple, it was good. a few years ago
Yeah.
now. The first 2 seasons, amazing. Like the ones after that, really not as good at all.
No.
So
Wasn't as bad as Lost.
no, I've heard that was terrible. But yeah.
Yeah, my perspective on it is updated. I've updated it recently because this was Henry Cavill's passion project. This happened because of him. And have either of you heard of, I can't remember what it's called, his latest spy thing? And what it's called, where he's completely clean shaven.
I have heard about it, but I can't remember what it's called.
It's not like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That was like 8 years ago.
No, that was a while ago. So he did Man from U.N.C.L.E. He was really good. He's this suave James Bond character.
Argyle.
Argyle, right?
It. Yeah.
So then Argyle, and then he's done this this new Guy Ritchie film, and Argyle just looks and that was him. That was his passion project. That was his. I'm going to do my own kind of spy movie, and it just looks like he's not very good at leading productions of things. It feels like when he's an actor and joins as he's the actor playing this part, then he's incredible. But it seems like when he was putting together the team for The Witcher, he didn't make the best choices. Just like with Argyle, because he's Henry Cavill, he can make things happen. And yeah, it's tricky. And it feels like a bit of a wasted opportunity. And the second part of this is things that I wanted to love it. I wanted to love it. And it just, we'll see. We'll see. But good news on a good front. One casting that I found out about today, looking at this, Lawrence Fishburne has been cast as Regis. And cool. Regis is a fabulous, fascinating character from both the books and the games. And that'll be interesting. But the most exciting thing, if everything else if it had gone from strength to strength and it was awesome, and then this was announced, I would have lost my shit. But because it's not turned out quite that way, I haven't. Do you know who Sharlto Copley is?
No, but that's a very interesting name.
Yeah.
You watched District 9?
Yes.
South African. So he's the main guy from that.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
And he's an insanely good actor, incredible actor. And I thought I'd read like 4 or 5 of the 8 books. But one character that stood out for me that I remember from all of it is called Bonnet. And he's a sort of a mercenary type character. And he stood out to me so much. He's the most standout thing to me from it. And Sharlto Copley is going to be playing him.
Cool.
And that is, if they'd, it's a similar thing like I'm doing. It's very easy to watch something from the outside and think, oh, I would have done it this way. Just like what I've been doing with Harry Potter. And for the most part, you can't think about what other people might have done. But then there are things where you just go, you're just missing open goal after open goal. And it's just frustrating that those two, I wonder if they signed on before Henry Cavill stepped out and they thought they were going to be acting opposite Henry Cavill. But
a mystery.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you played the games or read the books?
Played Witcher 3. Some of it, not all of it, because it's huge. But very much enjoyed the bits that I did play. Yeah.
I played some, but I found it a little bit too sexist.
Yeah, there were.
He was a bit too much of a womanizer, and But I also audiobooked part of the first book because I enjoyed the series so much. And I was like, oh, actually, maybe I should read the book. And I was like, no, it isn't for me. I can see why they're popular, but they're not for me. I'm too much of a grumpy old feminist. I've said that twice now.
You have?
Episode.
I've been reading. I love the Game of Thrones series, right? And I've just started because I was researching the role that George R. R. Martin played in Elden Ring because I'm desperate to know exactly what he was responsible for. So as I've been going through that, I just recognizing what a good writer he seems to be. And the books are so massive and long, and each of the chapters from an individual's perspective. And I was particularly interested in how Jon Snow's story was written, and so I've been reading the books only the Jon Snow chapters.
That's a good idea.
That's so cool.
I've come across a YouTube channel called David Reads A Song of Ice and Fire, and it's just this random bloke who decided to read all the books, and he's not a voice actor in any way. He's just a guy who loves it and has read them all the way through. So I've been going through character by character, reading these books, and the thing that you comes across really quickly is that they literally copied. It couldn't be easier to turn into an adaptation. It's literally, he couldn't have given someone a better template, whereas the Witcher stories are not like that. The first book that I skipped straight to like the normal storybook, whereas from the sounds of it, the first two books were short stories. And it looks like that's what they chose to start with, which is just confusing.
Yeah. It's a shame because it's an interesting world.
Yeah, it is.
and concept. So,
and it's unfortunately with Game of Thrones after they ran out of book.
Yeah, it went.
Turns out the two showrunners are disgusting, greedy scumbags because they had been offered $100 million deal from Netflix. And so that's the reason that they rushed out the last few seasons, because they just, we're just going to get this out of the way and then we can make all that sweet Netflix money. And they cut out loads of stuff, and just, it's one of those things, just like with this, once it's gone, it's done. Game of Thrones is done. You don't get a second chance at these things.
Unless you're Spider-Man, and then you get rebooted a million times.
Yeah. Very true.
But those ones were fabulously successful. I got actually really emotional after watching the last Spider-Man film, because it was like 20 years of my life for these awesome, and right in the feels.
That's a nice.
I think we'll
Nice ending.
Nice to end it.
so I think we'll bring it to a close there. Thank you for this lovely conversation, and thank you everyone for watching or listening, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.